the last video we talked about survivability and what you should focus on if you want to stay alive. The Nomad build excels at keeping you alive. The downside is that it doesn't really give you too much in the way of extra damage, using either skill power or firearms. In this video, we'll cover skill power builds. These are so much fun, and you can get some crazy damage or utility out of your skills. Running solo, you can make it further, and with a team, you can really put out some good damage or assist in providing your team some massive damage buffs or defensive and healing skills. The last video showed a build that would have provided some support for when things went wrong, particularly useful when learning the game mechanics and how to react in crazy situations. This build isn't quite so forgiving. For the purpose of this video, we'll be talking about running this as a skill powered damage build, but the same direction and tips can be used towards support builds too. As a solo player, you can use your skills to not only deal the damage, but also take a lot of the incoming fire that would otherwise be dealt to yourself. So even though you'll have minimum toughness, you'll be able to stick right back, doing damage from a distance. With any build video I post up, you should be using these as a guide only. The intention is for you to use them as a starting point and then adapt them to your style of play. I'll do my best to show a few different options within the builds, but you'll need to try these out and make the choice for yourself. As per usual, I'll be keeping this as short and concise as possible. At the end, I'll have a couple of cheat sheets that will sum up the builds covered in this video. Please let me know in the comments if I can provide a little more detail on anything. The set we'll focus this video around will be the Tactician's Authority set. This is the original skill build set, released way back in 1.1. But a lot of what we cover here can also be applied to the Reclaimer set, and even the Firecrest set to a certain extent. The Tactician's set focuses on skill haste and maximizing skill power. And this pretty much sums up exactly what we're going to try and achieve with each piece in this build. I've tried to squeeze as much skill power as possible out of this build, so if you're feeling a little squishy, you can certainly change a few of the skill power rolls over to health, without affecting your damage output too much. The build in front of you right now consists of 4-piece Tacticians, an inventive backpack, and a nimble holster. The inventive backpack grants a 15% increase in skill power while at full health. This is a huge boost in skill power, but if you require a little bit more survivability in combat, switch it out for the Relentless backpack. This will return a percentage of the damage dealt by your skills as health. The nimble holster will help with health replenishment, provided that you play the game as it was originally intended, as a cover-to-cover shooter. This is a weaker option for the build and should be changed out when you come across better gear, but it still comes in very useful. Skill haste has been rolled onto the chest, gloves, and holster. Skill power onto the mask, knee pads, and backpack. Enemy armor damage, mask and knee pads, and ammo capacity has been rolled onto the chest and backpack. On top of the skill haste, the gloves also assist in getting more damage out of your weapon, with the assault rifle damage and critical hit chance. Another variation to this build could be 4-piece Tacticians, vigorous chest, and inventive backpack. This would be run with overdose first aid as one of your skills, allowing you a decent overheal, ensuring that your inventive backpack is being procced more often, and making it quite a handy build in team play. But this would mean you're only running with one damage skill. If you have the Ninja Bike Messenger Bag, you can run with 3-piece Tacticians plus 2 other set pieces to gain a further 2 and 3 set bonus. In this example, I'm using 2-piece Firecrest. This makes it all about the flame turret, with the Seekers or Sticky Bomb as the secondary skill. In a later video, I'll go a little further in depth with this build, focusing more around the flame turret and burn damage, and how this can be one of the easiest, most useful PvE builds that can be used in the in-game content. Being a skill power build, you wouldn't think that the weapons and their talents would be very important, but this is where you can really optimize the skill power build. As I said in the last video, I'm a big fan of the high rate of fire weapons like the lightweight M4 and SMGs like the MP5. In this situation, I'd recommend going with a primary with a little bit more range than an SMG, like an assault rifle, because if all is going well, you'll be staying back from the fighting. Here I'm using the lightweight M4 with the attributes Talented, Competent, and Determined. Talented. Killing a target with this weapon increases skill power by 15% for 20 seconds. Competent. Weapon damage is increased by 10% for 15 seconds after using a skill. And as a skill power build, this will be procced quite often, increasing your chance of proccing Talented. Determined. Killing a target reduces all skill cooldowns by 7.5%. Because of the stat requirements, you'll need to have this rolled into the 3rd slot of the weapon, the free slot. Determined will help you reduce not just your skill cooldowns, but also your signature skill. So if you were running Recovery Link, of which I'd highly recommend if you're running solo, you'll be able to get this back in about 10 kills or so. Also, the kills don't need to come from your weapon, your skill kills count too. This is one of my favourite talents in the game, but you may choose to swap it out for another attribute like Destructive, for example, if you're wanting to get a bit more damage from your weapon. With the secondary weapon, as per usual with my PvE builds, I've gone for a marksman rifle, just to offer a bit more range when needed. I'd recommend going with similar talents, but with Predatory in the third slot to help with replenishing health. Another option you'll see around when running a skill power build is to go to a lower world tier and buy weapons or craft them with the talents you want. The advantage to this is that the requirement to unlock each talent is lower, based on the lower gear score. The only reason I'm not really a huge fan of this is you don't quite get the same damage out of your weapon, so proccing things like Talented becomes a lot more difficult, but this is still a very viable option when running a skill build. In this example, I'm using the Active Sensor Turret and Cluster Seeker Mines. I'm guessing I was feeling a little lazy that day. With these two skills, you can just pop them down and they do the rest. Instead of the turret, you could use the BFB Sticky Bomb. If you like firing explosive projectiles that do massive damage, you'll have fun with these. Though, another advantage to the turret is that it'll help you gain your Tactician marks. Note this doesn't happen with the Flame Turret. Turret or Sticky Bomb, the principles are the same. Your skills are your main damage dealing options. The talents I'm running are Critical Save. This will help you survive certain situations more often than you may think. I use this in most builds. Tech Support, to keep your turret up for longer. Death by Proxy. You can proc this a lot. Taking out enemy turrets and support stations will provide a large buff to skill power. And Chain Reaction. It's quite often that you'll be damaging multiple enemies when using Seekers and Sticky Bombs. However, if you're running Sticky Bomb rather than a turret, I'd change out Tech Support for Demolition Expert to help you stack the damage from one skill to the next. If you're running a Flame Turret, change out Death by Proxy for Wildfire to help spread the burn to other targets. Gear mods, you want a mixture of electronics with skill haste or electronics with skill power. Depending on the pieces you're running, you may need to have one firearms mod to unlock your weapon talents. As far as the skill power to skill haste ratio goes, it depends on your current overall skill haste. The maximum skill haste you can have is 50%, so anything over this is wasted. Get your skill haste to as close to 50% as possible and put the rest into skill power. Be aware of skills like the Ammo Cache Support Station. This adds 15% skill haste. So if you are running a support station build, your skill haste shouldn't be above 35%. You can check your total skill haste plus a large number of other things through the Character tab. Performance mods. Out of your damage dealing skills, pick your favourite. This is the skill you'll be further amplifying. If it's your turret, add turret damage. Sticky Bomb, add Sticky Bomb damage. In this example, I'm using Seeker Mine damage. As stated earlier, sit back and let your skills do and take the damage. Switch up your skills depending on the mission. If you're having trouble with rushers running up to you and bursting you down with shotguns or beating you with golf clubs, switch over to the Flame Turret. It can be hard in the heat of battle, but remember what weapon and ability talents you have to increase your skill damage. Finish off enemies with your primary and remember to stack your Tactician's bonus. Shoot down any turrets and support stations and keep yourself at full health where possible. You're squishy with this build, but you can more than make up for it with your damage. With this build, you'll have success soloing through challenging with ease, and even legendary missions. The trick to legendary missions is knowing them inside and out. It's unlikely you'll breeze through them without dying first try, but give them a few goes and you'll start to remember the NPC types and spawns. These NPCs are tough, but if you can master these missions, a lot of the other content becomes a lot easier. I've also had a bit of success running through Resistance. Running up to wave 15 wasn't a problem, but found greater efficiency in opening the reward chest 3 times by wave 10 and restarting. The NPCs started getting a little bit tricky after that. This is a good build to begin your farming for classified pieces. Because this is a beginner's guide video, I haven't included any exotic gear, apart from the Ninja Bike messenger bag. If you manage to get a hold of the Barrett's bulletproof vest, this is a great addition to the build. It'll give you a further 10% increase of skill power on the first skill you use. Skill power builds can be a lot of fun and open a lot more of the difficult content, but their lack of focus on survivability can make them a little more tricky for the newer player. When things go wrong or you get rushed down, you do need to be able to react quickly or you'll get taken down fast. Play around with this build and remember to adapt it to your style of play. Hopefully this has given you some good pointers or at least a place to start. Any further questions? Let me know. Next we'll be covering the basic DPS build, and after that we'll have covered the 3 most common build types that were mentioned in part 1. So what videos would you like to see next? Best farming options for things like Division Tech or Phoenix credits to help optimize your builds? More Ninja Bike builds maybe? Or how to farm the Dark Zone solo? If you have any requests, please mention them in the comments, and if someone has already mentioned it, throw them a thumbs up. Otherwise, thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next. Cheers!